This is the Fluid Jobs podcast, where motorsport professionals share their journeys and offer actionable advice for breaking into and advancing in the competitive world of motorsport. In today's podcast, we dive into the world of motorsport marketing with Luke Moss from Right Formula, a leading agency that works with businesses sponsoring Formula One and other motorsports. If you're looking to break into the marketing side of the industry, this episode is packed with invaluable advice on everything from hospitality programs to content creation. So without further ado, let's get into it. Luke, thank you very much for joining me today. Really appreciate it. And I think we should just start off by letting us know what Right Formula do as a company and how they're involved in motorsport.
Thanks, Scott. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Right Formula is effectively a marketing agency, but we specialize in working with businesses who sponsor Formula One, motorsports. We do a little bit in golf and other areas, but yeah, predominantly MotoGP. Probably about 72% of our clients are within the Formula One paddock. And then we look at within that, we can do anything from hospitality programs through to full marketing campaigns to building maybe specific tech that will help people understand what their reach is, how they're achieving their objectives. Essentially what we want to do as a business is we take what our clients' objectives are with the sponsorship programs and we try and boil that down. And the idea at Right Formula is that we are taking what is effectively people's passion, knowledge, and interest for sports, and then we collate that into outstanding objectives and outstanding outcomes for our clients.
Fantastic. And so what kind of roles do you guys have available? What type of people are working for you?
It's a really good question. I mean, we are now what is called a full service agency. So we offer, whilst we still do the traditional hospitality, which is, going to tracks and showing the V and the VVIPs around and giving them hot laps in Pirelli race cars and things like that. We actually, with that, we have our events staff, and that's a core of what we do. Outside of that, we have digital marketing. So it could be content creation, it could be campaigns, different things along those lines. So we have digital marketing experts that we hire for. We have designers, so graphic designers, video designers, things along those lines. We work with a production company for creating content called Right Formula Productions. We also have communications, so PR and comms. Within the wider business as well, there's our strategy departments, our research and insights. So if you like your numbers or you want a bigger picture, there's other areas. And of course, we have commercial teams as well that build that on. And then we've got our operations side, which is where I sit in the people department. So operations for us are anything like finance, people, office management, all of those day-to-day company roles.
Fantastic. So a wide and kind of diverse different roles within Right Formula. I guess the next logical question is, motorsport is quite a sexy category. There's lots of people who want to get into a role in motorsport. So I suppose you have lots of applicants when it comes to listing a role. Is there any advice that you would give a potential candidate in terms of, the fundamentals of when they apply to one of your roles and how to kind of stand out in the best way possible?
I think that's a fundamental question, and it's quite hard. Traditionally, motorsport has been one of those, if you're in the industry, you can get in, and it's quite hard to get in if you're outside of the industry. Right Formula, we believe that at the end of the day, talent is spread evenly, but opportunities aren't always. And for people who want to get into the industry, unfortunately, it still requires, you to show that desire and want to get into an industry. So, being able to reach out and write different materials for different publications, being able to go out and sort of show your interest, maybe if you're studying, applying to companies for, work experience, internships, things along those lines really do help your CV stand out. for us, I think one of the key things that we look for is the right attitudes when it comes to to a career here. It's okay if you've got the sports knowledge, but if you're not willing to really work hard, you're not really willing to work as a team. And really, we mean that. There's no real space for the big egos here. It's about us trying to come together to create something. If you're not able to do those type of things, be open with each other, be honest, but be nice. It's not the right industry for you. So, whilst we know it's a hard working industry and we see the champagne on the outside and we think that that's the glory and that every day is like that, behind the scenes, there's a lot of hard work and a lot of long hours that go into these. And you've got to be willing to put that in. And that takes a little bit of sacrifice, but also it gives a huge amount of opportunity. And at the end of the day, it's a lot better than working in a bank or selling staples. So it's very nice to be in this industry as well. It's a reward you get.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Being lucky enough to work in the industry. And so from your side of things, what does the just to get a bit granular, what does the process look like for when you're filling a role? You have
Mm.
you'll list your job, you'll then have applicants. What goes on from that point? What does it look like to someone who might not have been through this process before?
That's a great question. So we're lucky enough to have a really great talent manager at Right Formula. So once we've listed a job and it goes online, we will start receiving applications. Now, depending on the job's requirements, more senior, you're going to need more experience. But what we'll try and do is we'll try and sift through and look through maybe a lower level, somewhere around 80 to 100 applications we could receive. We'll try and sift through that and find out the people that have really maybe put that extra bit into working into sports, have some experience, have even been a sports person themselves. We tend to find that people who've worked in sport really understand that sport's kind of a metaphor for growth and human involvement, that you can think about all of the debriefing, the details that you need to take in, all of those different things are really positive signs for us that you're willing to work as part of a team, you're wanting to come through those. So when we're looking at CVs, you know, try and get your outcomes in there, try and show that you're you know not only passionate about it. Passion will take you so far, but you're willing to go the extra step and go, okay, where can I volunteer, where can I add in extra information, and how can I go further from there on out.
Okay. And that's something that we've heard quite a lot, actually. It's like just showing that you're genuinely passionate about the industry or about the role in particular. So you mentioned volunteering. Is there anything else? Because I think this is quite an important point for a lot of candidates. Like, is there
Mm.
anything else that you've seen where we might inspire some candidates to go and do that? Because some of them just don't really know exactly where to start with that.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is a really challenging thing. I mean, we've hired recently, we've hired some people who have worked in, they just started their own blogs and started writing about things and elevated that into Instagram channels or into TikTok or other areas, which is somewhat useful. We don't just want people who are only interested in creating stuff about themselves. It's got to be about the sport. It's got to be able to be shown that. Then beyond that, anyone that has applied to some unpaid work experience for a week or two to get involved, to get to a trackside and try and meet the right people and get in contact with that. It really does help you. Unfortunately, you know, sports, it's still about, in some ways, it's about who you know. So what we try and do is we try and work with um, people from slightly less privileged backgrounds to give them the opportunity to understand that this is a career that they could follow. We try to understand, where people have worked with clients that have sort of similar things as us, maybe a major airline or something like that, and understand that how you can add those creative impacts in. Um, but yeah, nothing really stands out more than actually being able to go and say, hey, look, I volunteered to go and either be on track, or I volunteered to either go and do some work experience to really get a taste for this. I put my hand up to go and do some, I know of people that really want to get into the industry, and have just asked to do some freelance opportunities for us at free of charge, so they can go and even pack bags and just get involved and understand what the day-to-days of really delivering great programs entails.
And from your perspective, the value of that is that is it that it's showing willing and passion around the industry? Are they the core things that you're looking for when someone might have volunteered or got involved in some way?
It's a great question. From my perspective, we've got five sort of key values that we look at for Road Formula. So we talk about collaborative, and I think that that's really important that we think of people as a team rather than just individuals. And then we talk about being, you know, proactive, and really for us, that's it. It's like it's not just sitting there and thinking,
Yeah.
what will I do? It's putting yourselves out of a comfort zone. Comfort zone is knowing what you've done. How can you take on responsibility that you've never done before and put yourself in those shoes? Because the one thing that's true in sport and even in sports marketing is that things go wrong, things will change. You need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable in some ways, and be able to just show that you're willing to do that. It really does, for us, detail a really good individual trait. And along with that, you'll start to understand how to navigate with people or how to work with different personalities. All of those things, those human interactions are hugely important in careers. And whilst we are very aware of AI, that's still a huge driver for us, is how do we get that comfortability with being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Okay. That makes perfect sense. So, from your perspective, again, you've kind of gone through the applicants. You've seen the applicants that kind of stand out and have shown this passion and willing to collaborate and are in line with all of your values. Then, can you walk me through the process? You kind of invite them to come and meet you guys, I suppose, and what happens from there? What happens in the interview, or are you doing other different types of things?
That's a really good question. So for us, we start, we try and funnel down very simply. So we start at the top and we go, well, we'll probably want to speak to, if we've got, I don't know, 80 applications, we'll probably want to speak to 15 different people at first stage. So we'll pick the top 15. And what we'll do at that stage is we'll ask some competency-based questions. So they tend to start with, tell me about a time you've, or give me an example when you've. So what you're trying to do with that is you're, as a person, you are trying to create an environment where you can give someone the opportunity to talk about their experience where they may have done X, Y, and Z. And the really great answers and the people that make you really excited are the ones that don't just go, okay, well, that's when I did it. What you're doing is you're looking for a story, and you're kind of looking for what the outcomes were and what you would have changed at the end and what makes things better. So the really great people are the ones that go, okay, so this was the situation, and this is what I needed to achieve. This is how I went about achieving it, and these are the results. But I might have added something a bit differently if I was to review that again. And that's really how you make yourself stand out in those interviews.
Right. Okay. So just to kind of just make sure I'm completely clear on this, what you're kind of saying there is it's not just about the outcome; it's really the journey to get to that outcome and how the person is navigating through that.
Without a doubt, the the thing is, you can have people who have had great outcomes, but they may have had really easy opportunities to get to those great outcomes. What we're looking for is the problem solvers, or the people that think, okay, so what is it? It's an engineering mindset in its fundamental. Like, what is it that we need to do to solve the problem, and what could we do to keep going further forward? And that's kind of inspired by the sports that we're in.
I can see how all that links together. You mentioned like being in sports as well. That is my kind of always pushing and always, trying to figure out the best way to do something. That's something that runs through being a driver, other sports, being an engineer, all of these types of things. It's like it's everything, I suppose, right?
It totally is. I think that there's a lady called Patty McCord, who used to work for Netflix, and she always says, "Don't find me the problem finders, find me the problem solvers." And like throughout life, you're going to come up against hardships. You're going to have to, come up against things that haven't gone your way. Like, you know, you see that all the time, and it's about how you find the solutions to those. We see that in races. How do we find the solutions to those problems? What's the strategy? Like, where are we going? Like, how are we going to deflect from these situations that are going on? Because, you know, nothing sells perfectly ever, right? So you've got to deal with those problems. You've got to come back, and like, as a sports person, you'll know this. Like, you've got to take that information on and think, okay, look at your trace maps. You've got to think about, okay, where can I improve? What can I do? What are the different cornering speeds, whatever they may be? You've got to get into the detail and start to self-reflect as well, and start thinking, okay, but what could I do to get better? And they're the people that you're really looking for.
So you're looking out for that in the kind of initial interview, if that's what you call it. Is there a second stage beyond that point? Are you funneling down deeper,
Yeah,
and what are the next steps?
absolutely. Yeah, so what we do after that is we tend to go then through. So we would conduct that. The talent manager would conduct that first stage, and that's just overarching. I mean, it's 45 minutes or so, and we'll ask 3 or 4 base questions and start to get an answer for that. Then we'll move on to a hiring manager interview. They'll delve more into the skills that they might need for the role, past experience, things along those lines. What we will tend to do with all of our candidates is we will present them with a challenge, a task at the
Right.
final stage. So the idea is that once we've done that, we're starting to get an understanding for your skills. We're starting to get an understanding for your past experience and what's gone well and what's not. But then we're going to give you a challenge that you may have encountered something like this before. But the idea is we want to see what you would do in an ideal world, and then we're going to bring you in, and we are going to challenge you. Without a
Yeah.
doubt, we're going to
Yeah.
take you through that side and go, hey, okay, that's great, but what if this changed, and what would happen there? To see how you react in those situations, to see your the dynamism that you can show with that.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I guess again, it's understanding how a person will just apply themselves to a specific situation. And I mean that's a great overview of the step by step. It's something that I don't see spoken about enough. Just understanding what the entire process looks like, Luke. So thank you so much for sharing that with me. Is that the final step in the process? We've made it all the way through. We've wowed you. Is that when we get the offer of a job?
Yeah, it could be. It could well be. I mean, we, the truth is, we still want to do some checks and just make sure that you are the person you say you are, and that we're
Right.
we're
Yeah.
going through those. But yeah, of course, like if we feel that synergy, and to be honest, the whole interview process has got to be a two-way street. Whilst the candidates want to work for us, we've also got to show to them that we're going to be the place that we're going to you know progress your career. We're going to take you forward. We're going to show you those mapping pieces. So if we're convinced that that two-way part is right, and that you're the person for us, and we're the company for you, then yeah, we definitely want to get down to business and see when we can get you in, when we can get you started, what your onboarding journey looks like, and all of those different parts.
That's brilliant, Luke. Thank you so much for being so open about that. I really appreciate it. If some of our viewers want to learn a little bit more about Right Formula, can you point us in the right direction?
Yeah, of course. So we've got our website, which is rightformula.com. You're welcome to go and have a look on that. We will be updating that in the future to talk more about the values that I've talked about today. Also, you're welcome to drop either my talent manager or me a message through LinkedIn. So Luke Moss or Abdul Yunus, you can find us on there. Please also send an email through to info@rightformula.com, and we'll be happy to go through that. And what we'd like to do in the future is outline to you what our work experience plans look like, who we can offer those to, and potential internships as well.
Fantastic, Luke. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. That was fantastic.
No worries. Thanks, Scott.